Inspired by one of Anthony Powell's book titles, books do furnish a room, Sunil Sethi says that they also furnish our thoughts, our lives and our world, and I couldn't agree with you more. Host of Just Books on Ndtv Profit, veteran journalist and now editor of The Big Bookshelf, which features his conversations with 30 major writers. Sunil Sethi is here for the launch of the book. And I really like what you've done. This is a brilliant idea to put these conversations into the snug, warm and secure pages of a book, because much as I like watching your show and I work in television, I feel I'm more of a book person, not so much a TV person, and it's very, very intimate to read the interviews in a book because I feel you're in closer connect with the author. So how did this idea come about?
Well, you know, it's as you said, Anuradha, television, for its immediacy, its power, its great ability to grab eyeballs, as they say, is in the end a fairly ephemeral medium. And I just felt over the years that many of these great people, I had interviewed the writers, whether they were great entertainers or literary giants or Nobel laureates or Booker Prize winners or thriller writers or whatever, had so much of value to say about life, about letters, about how they write, how they became writers, what their life stories were, about the human condition, about their struggles, that it seemed to me that some of these interviews should find a more permanent home in a book of its own. And that's how the idea started. I took it to a publisher and they jumped with joy and they said, please, please, please do it, because we'll probably never hear these voices again. But I have to tell you, the question I'm most often asked about the bookshelf is how did I choose 30 out of 300? It was a very tough call. Obviously, some of them are the great names of world literature. Günter Grass, Nadine Gordimer, Amartya Sen, and Orhan Pamuk, Nobel laureates, all Salman Rushdie and Kiran Desai, both Booker Prize winners. But I also wanted to represent the best of Indian writing in English, whether Amitav Ghosh, whether Vikram Seth, whether Kiran Desai. Some writers I had got with difficulty and who are very rare birds. Anita Desai, for example, the wonderful, she had lived in America for many years, and I kept saying to her, Mrs. Desai, when will you give me an interview? But she's very camera shy. So it was after many years of trying that one day, when she was receiving a very prestigious literary award in the North Italian city of Turin, that she capitulated. And I recorded the most wonderful interview with her in an autumn garden full of flowers. And during that walkabout, she somehow lost her reticence and shyness. And she opened up so beautifully and delicately about her life and her art. Or the great Bengali writer and crusader Mahashweta Devi. Similarly, I did not interview her in Kolkata, which is the city of her home and the area where she has done most of her great work, but at the Frankfurt Book Fair. So I found writers in unexpected, unusual places, in extraordinary moods, and that was part of the joy of both doing the show and writing the book.
And ironically, because you said that you interviewed Mahashweta Devi at the Frankfurt Book Fair, Sunil spoke to Günter Grass in Kolkata. Yes.
True,
you know, it's a coincidence that you should talk about Anita Desai, because I'm a devotee of hers and I was going to actually talk to you about her. The first three writers that I would like to talk about, one is Anita Desai, because I grew up reading her, Kiran Desai, because I think her Inheritance of Loss is a gem, and as if to come and join this family and complete the troika is my third favorite writer, Orhan Pamuk. So just a little anecdote about each one.
They are a family. They are a family, and they are a very extraordinary family. India, indeed the world, is so used to political dynasties, business dynasties in every walk of life. But here, in its own extraordinary way, is a literary dynasty. Anita Desai and her daughter Kiran Desai's lives, both their interviews come one after the other in the Big Bookshelf because they're in chronological order and they share the same last name. I asked them both, though the interviews were recorded 3 years separately, what is it like to be the mother of a budding writer? And Anita, in a very revealing moment, says to me that one of the reasons she hasn't written for years is because she's been so engaged in helping her daughter fashion this new novel. And this is 3 years before The Inheritance of Loss came out. And Kiran Desai won the Booker Prize for it. It's a very moving thing about a mother talking about her daughter's art to come.
Right.
And then 3 years later, after Kiran won the Booker Prize, and I was at Frankfurt when she was rushing off to London and said, I won't get it, but she got the prize. And it's fantastic what Kiran says later about her mother. She says that the difference in my mother's life and my life is that my mother had to fight for her art. I just took it for granted, our generation. And this is as much my mother's book as it's mine. So, it sounds a bit cheesy almost, like Postcards from the Edge, mother and daughter talking like that about one another. But the interviews actually took place 3 years apart. Now, Orhan Pamuk and Kiran Desai, there's a 19-year gap between them. They became friends and are now in an open partnership. It was very cagey at first, but I think it was because of my friendship and the confidence that Kiran and Anita had in me because of these interviews that I first met Orhan Pamuk, where he just rang me one day. He was on holiday in Goa and said, look, my publisher has said will I do a big audience interaction with them in Mumbai at the British Council auditorium, and I'd like you to do it.
Oh, wonderful.
So it was a great compliment for me, and I've been to Turkey many times, and of course I'm like you, a great admirer.
Yeah, I just finished Museum of Innocence, and this emotion, huzun, which in Persian means melancholy. In Arabic, I'm sorry, which informs his work, and it's a major theme, leitmotif in his work. It's also there in Anita Desai and Kiran Desai's work, so it's...
Huzun is a difficult, I don't know what the expression for it in Tamil would be, but in Urdu, the word would be dard, which is pain, but the correct English translation would be melancholy. It's sadness, it's pathos, it's a yearning for something lost. And you are absolutely right, Anuradha. Both Anita Desai and her daughter Kiran Desai have that same quality. I once asked Anita Desai about it. Where does this pain come from? The quote is in the interview, and she explained to me that this sense of loss came to her as a child because she was born Anita Mazumdar of a Bengali father and a German mother. And she said that her father had come from East Bengal, what later became East Pakistan and is now Bangladesh, and lost his homeland and could never go back. Her mother had come from Germany and could never go back either after World War II. So she said, history was all around us in the house. My parents talked about their past, their history, their home, but they could never reclaim it. And therefore, she said, from that she created characters like the Jewish emigre in Baumgartner's Bombay, or Noor Ali, the poet in Delhi, from a decaying Urdu culture and old Mughal life, the marginal characters of life, because she said these were people who had been crushed by the juggernaut of history. History destroyed these people, because history is as big a destroyer, not necessarily a creator.
In fact, Kiran Desai, Bapsi Sidhwa and Danial Mohinudin, they all say that from conflict and from pain and from loss come different and poignant forms of writing. It's there in the book. Stay tuned. We have, oh God, so many more writers to talk about. We've just spoken about 4, but that's Sunil Sethi for you, not just, like I said earlier, a very good interviewer, but he's turning out to be a great interviewee. I'm glad to be chatting with you. Stay tuned. We'll come back after a short break.